Chapter 8. Ideal Psychological Profiles. Different Professions. Quote, "Analyze what high performers do and adapt it, copy it, or reverse engineer it." End quote. Illimitable Man. A question as old as time. Why do some succeed while others fail? There is no surefire recipe for success in every domain of performance, but for specific domains of performance, there are some factors that reliably increase the probability of success, henceforth referred to as success predictors. Within this essay, the psychological profiles that are typical for people working in engineering and finance, law, and sales will be covered, and the psychological profiles that are ideal for succeeding in these professions will also be covered. You will find that many people at the top of these professions have psychological profiles very close or identical to the ideal detailed within this essay. That's why they were able to make it to the top. Finance, law, and sales are grouped together because the traits needed to succeed in these professions are very similar. If you are a great banker, chances are you could have also become a great lawyer or a great salesman. Universal Success Predictors. There are certain success predictors that affect performance in every profession, from banking to farming. They include energy/industriousness, stress tolerance/neuroticism, and physical attractiveness. For every profession, the ideal for performance is to have incredibly high energy levels so you can work 100 hours a week, a high stress tolerance, or low neuroticism, so that you're calm, even when there are bullets flying, and to be as good looking as George Clooney or me, so that you benefit from the halo effect. Good-looking men are more likely to be hired, promoted, and win clients than ugly men. The probability of meeting this ideal is 0, but get as close as you can. Do what is within your power to maximize your energy levels, maximize your stress tolerance and minimize your neuroticism, and maximize your physical appearance. No matter what profession you work in, optimizing these variables will increase your chances of success. Typical psychological profiles. Spend some time in the corporate world, and you will notice that there are certain personalities typical of different professions. Typical personalities in engineering. Most engineers have a psychological profile that looks something like an IQ of 120 to 135. Very smart, but not quite a genius. Low cunning. Somewhat socially awkward. Bad at charming people, bad at reading body language and vocal tonality. Low extroversion. Engineers tend to be more introverted than average. They aren't nervous or fearful of social interaction, but they are annoyed by it. They don't enjoy vapid conversation about inconsequential matters the way an extroverted person would. Low agreeableness. For some reason, engineers tend to be less agreeable than most people. They aren't psychopathic, but they are somewhat callous and blunt. Ugly. For some reason, those working in engineering tend not to be very physically attractive. I sense it comes from them not putting effort into keeping up their physical appearance. Perhaps it is an extension of their lack of cunning to not care about such superficialities. As part of low cunning and low agreeableness being in the same person, engineers tend to be blunt with their speech. They use straight talk, not power talk. They say what they actually think without filter, even when they know it is likely to offend others. Typical personalities in finance, law, and sales. Those who work in finance, law, and sales have noticeably similar personalities. IQ of 110 to 120. Bright, but not nearly as smart as engineers. High cunning. People working in finance, law, and sales have good social skills. They are good at charming people, persuading people, reading body language and vocal tonality, lying, and detecting when someone else is lying. Their basic job duties require an above-average level of cunning. Low agreeableness. The work in finance, law, and sales involves endless zero-sum competition and zero-sum negotiation. Highly agreeable people cannot tolerate this. They find it to be demoralizing and get washed out of these professions. Low neuroticism. The work in finance, law, and sales is stressful, cortisol-inducing. People who rank high on neuroticism can't tolerate this and are washed out of these professions. Good-looking. Those working in finance, law, and sales tend to be good-looking, although not quite as good-looking as me. This comes from them putting conscious effort into keeping up their physical appearance. They know they have to look good to charm people effectively. IQ and social awkwardness. You might think that smarter is always better, but this is wrong. There are ways having an extremely high IQ can affect performance negatively. Most notably, people with off-the-chart IQ scores tend to be hopelessly socially awkward. Many works of fiction have been created making fun of this dynamic. The TV show The Big Bang Theory, which is shite, is an iconic example. Anecdotally, we have all encountered people, usually men, who are intelligent enough to be great engineers, yet who are also incapable of charming people. In an article entitled The Inappropriately Excluded, the polymath tells us that the ideal IQ for maximizing income is somewhere in the range of 130 to 135, and at an IQ of 140 plus, both income and the probability of attaining professional success dramatically decrease. At an IQ of 120, a person is smart and socially normal, 90th percentile intelligence. At 130, a person is extremely smart and substantially socially awkward, 98th percentile intelligence. At over 140, a person is a genius and is also hopelessly socially awkward, 99.9th percentile intelligence. In a profession where technical skills mean everything and people skills mean nothing, more IQ points is always a good thing. 130 is better than 120, and 140 is better than 130. Software engineering is a notable example. In a profession where both technical skills and people skills matter, a stratospheric IQ is a disadvantage. To have an IQ of 140 plus is a liability. An ideal IQ would be in the range of 120 to 129. Smart, but not to the point of being a socially awkward nerd. Finance, law, and sales are all examples of such professions. Ideal psychological profiles. Ideal personality for engineering. Ultra-high IQ, 140 plus. The smarter, the better. If having a stratospheric IQ causes one to be hopelessly socially awkward, then so be it. In engineering, technical skills are what matter, not people skills. High openness. Rigorous engineering work, R&D to design new technology, involves real creativity, not simply following preordained rules. Low extroversion. Introverted, comfortable working alone in silence for long periods of time. Cunning and agreeableness. This should be irrelevant to the ability to do engineering work effectively. In life, you have two choices. Be an ignorant fool or a brilliant strategist. Buy the audiobook now to learn how to be the latter. Scroll down to find the link in the description. Click on the link. Purchase it now. Listen to the entire audiobook from start to finish. Then, watch your life transform.